In this short tutorial we'll focus on autoimmunity and some autoimmune disorders and diseases. Essentially, autoimmunity refers to the fact that parts of your body's immune system attacks the host cells. It doesn't recognise some parts of the body having self-antigens. It could involve part of your immune system failing to detect some kind of pathogen that has penetrated your first and second line of defence, so a failure to recognise this can be an immune system disorder. Some immune system disorders can include things like hay fever, and others might include life-threatening conditions such as anaphylaxis, AIDS, and cancer. When parts of the immune system don't recognise self-antigens or self-markers on host cells, then parts of that immune system will attack parts of the person's body. There can be organ-specific autoimmune diseases, so that only one organ, for example, can be affected, or you can have non-organ specific autoimmune diseases where multiple different parts of the body can be affected. Three of the very common autoimmune diseases that people suffer are things such as rheumatoid arthritis, where part of the immune system wears away part of the cartilage and leads to inflammation in the joints. This can be terribly painful and debilitating over time. Multiple sclerosis, or MS, is a progressive inflammatory disease which wears away the myelin sheath around the axons of nerve cells. Over a long period of time, this can ultimately lead to paralysis and loss of fine motor control. Another one is hemolytic anemia, where red blood cells can rupture or be destroyed. And this can be caused by a variety of factors, including excessively fragile red blood cells, could be hereditary, it could involve autoimmunity as well. In this slide we can see a diagrammatic representation of multiple sclerosis. We can see that in a healthy normal nerve cell that the myelin sheath is intact. So we have the myelin sheath wrapped around the axon here with the nodes of RON-VA, that is the exposed axon here, where action potentials can jump down the nerve. In MS, because part of the myelin sheath is destroyed, as we can see here, action potentials can become erratic, and this can ultimately, after a long time, lead to loss of nerve function and paralysis, as we mentioned a minute ago. You might want to pause this particular section of the tutorial and just have a quick look at some of the range of disorders that come under autoimmune disorders. They include things like diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, MS as we've mentioned, rheumatoid arthritis as we've mentioned, and it might be worth just having a look at some of the different symptoms and the organs that are affected by these different diseases. In this slide here there's a little bit of information on something of the mechanism that controls autoimmune diseases. It would seem that T lymphocytes, probably T helper cells, are normally involved in the reaction to foreign pathogens and so on. It's also interesting to note that T cells that react to the tissues of the body are normally destroyed by the thymus. So these T cells are normally destroyed and then don't react to the body's self-antigens. However, self-attacking T cells that escape destruction could be activated by some kind of a trigger. As I said, it could be something genetic, it could be something in the environment, it could be an infection, it could be hormones that trigger these self-attacking T cells. These rogue T cells then instruct B cells to make antibodies against the particular issue or organ or system, and these antibodies are called autoantibodies. And it's these antibodies that then go in and target various tissues or an organ in the body, which can lead to their destruction by phagocytes. And finally, on this slide we can see something of the risk factors for autoimmune diseases. And again, some of these have been mentioned already. So you could have a genetic predisposition, it could be environmental factors that trigger autoimmunity. It's also interesting to note that 3/4 of the people with autoimmune disorders are women. They're not quite sure why this is, and could be that sex hormones are also involved, which might well have something to do with the childbearing years in women and the hormonal changes during pregnancy, and also it's thought that some infections may trigger off some of these autoimmune disorders.